Hello, everyone. Welcome to Lighthouse today. I'm glad that you made your way today here, and I'm glad that and I hope that you will receive some insight from this sharing. Okay, today the topic of my sharing is when things are going not your way. What do I mean by that? It is like, for example, all of you would have received your results, your exam results of the last semester, and definitely all of you would have fell in one part of the bell curve, right? So some will have good results, some will be at the tail end, and so on. So what happens? What happens if you fail a subject? Yeah? Do you feel motivated to jump and start a new semester, or you feel dragging, you feel resentful? Will you be optimistic that another strong opportunity will come along when the time is right, or do you feel overwhelming, disappointed that you did not do well in the last semester, and you indulge yourself in those thoughts? You go deeper and deeper in those thoughts. We go through many experiences like this, right? We have our own shortfalls, we become victims, stuck in conflicts, and so on. So all these things affects our emotional well-being, correct? And how are we going to manage our emotional well-being? Because emotional well-being is part of holistic wellness. It can impact our outlook on our lives, our relationships, and our health. So, this sharing today, I'm going to include a definition of emotional well being, and why it's important, and practical ways to achieve a better emotional well being. Okay, before that, I must tell you why emotional well being matters, right? What do you achieve uh, when you are emotionally healthy? Okay, you manage the various elements of your life and work with a range of emotions like sadness, anger, disgust, frustrations, without losing control, and help you bounce back. Okay, we do face many challenges that trigger more intense feelings in our emotions in our life, but attending to your emotional well-being is always a good investment in good times or bad. Okay, when you know how to face these obstacles with a resilient mindset, your confidence in your ability to get through any circumstances is strengthened. Okay, firstly, what is emotional well-being? Right? Emotional well being is the ability to produce positive emotions, moods, thoughts, and feelings, and adapt when confronted with adversity and stressful situations. Okay. One of the foundation of emotional well being is resilience, right? It actually helps to navigate challenging life events. Okay, for example, let's take for example, when you do physical exercise, you actually increase your muscle mass, right? So just like that, resilience is just like increasing your muscle mass, right? It flexes and develops. The more you use your emotional well-being, it is just like your physical body strength. You increase in your stamina. Okay, resilience impact how you face challenges and how you think about the challenges you face. Okay, for example, when you are booked with many assignments and deadlines to meet, do you take time to plan and create a timeline, or do you feel overburdened and procrastinate? You know, or sometimes we even think of dropping the subjects. So, emotional well being allows you to focus on the positive and manage the negative emotions and feelings you may have in each situation. This can help to motivate, prepare, and plan a milestone that can help you achieve your goals rather than failing to meet the deadlines. So, according to a recent research, it says that a positive sense of well being it lets an individual to be able to function in society and meet the demands of everyday life. Well-being generally includes global judgments of all life satisfaction and feelings ranging from depression to joy. So why is emotional well-being important? Okay, because as your resilience grows, when you start to recognize, you have an insight about your emotions that triggers you and express them in a constructive manner to yourself and others. So if we don't recognize these triggers, so we transform the pain and we assuredly will show the pain to people around us in our environment. So for example, our family, our neighbors, our co-workers, and invariably the most, sometimes our own children or the younger people around us. Yeah. So that is why it is important for us to recognize, to have that insight about ourselves, the insights on what are the emotions that trigger us, so that we will be much more in control when we manage that emotions. So, to transform that adversity, we have to begin to observe. We have to observe ourselves, our thoughts, our feelings, and behaviors. Then that helps to determine the action that we take and completely changes the way we handle stressful situations and make the right decisions. So, as we place more emphasis on emotional well-being, then we will we will receive and offer feedback with a healthy perspective, have discussions and difficult conversations with anyone. We can manage conflicts in a better way, and we also able to establish stronger relationships. Okay, that's because our level of understanding, empathy, humor, and compassion increases. So you view yourself and others with less judgment, right? What's the relationship between emotional well-being and health? Okay, everything in our life, emotional, social, spiritual, physical, and intellectual, connects in a state of well-being. Yeah. So, for example, walking just 10 to 15 minutes a day gives our brain a boost. Yeah. That means more energy, awareness, and a healthier outlook on life, because exercise of any sort balances our dopamine and serotonin levels. Yeah, it is the feel good hormones, yeah, that gives us that feel good about ourselves and increases our confidence level. Okay, it also, besides that, this hormone dopamine and serotonin also helps to improve our sleep. And when we have a good night rest, when we have good sleep, a regular good sleep on a daily basis, that also helps to reduce our stress and anxiety, and it also improves our ability for the brain to function better, right? So when that is why every human, every person should strive to have a good night rest, right? So, all of this can make you better equipped to manage your feelings and emotions. Each area of your well being has the potential to impact other areas. So, many researchers studies focus on how poor mental well being negatively impacts physical health, leading to an increased risk in cancer, heart disease, and also respiratory diseases. And there is latest research that focus on the effects of positive well-being. So this research focus on mental health and life stories. It is found a compelling connection between what you say about yourself and your experience of well-being. One researcher, she researched among 259 adults. Okay? To describe what was the task, it was to describe up to 10 specific memories that they have in their life stories and answer questions about whether the events were related to positive or negative aspects of who they were. So, the researcher found that life stories dominated by positive events and connections were related to higher subjective well being, while life stories dominated by negative events and connections were related to lower subjective well being. So, it makes sense that your stories reflect what you are feeling about yourself. So, the narration, so, what the life story is, how you narrate your life story. Yeah, how you want to relate, want to talk about your life story. Now, in the beginning of a semester, you will be meeting new people, new classmates in your semester, in your courses, right? In your various courses, you will be meeting new people. So, what are you going to narrate about yourself? Are you going to narrate the negative stories which will further drag you down, or you're going to narrate stories that will help you to boost your positive feelings? So that is, so what is coming out of your mouth, is it the positive or the negative? That is very important, because it's not only heard by people, but it also impacts your own being. Yeah, so it makes sense that your stories reflect what you are feeling about yourself, your health, and how you relate to others. Consider that the next time you share what happened in your day. So just test it out. Know how, if you talk more positive things, how you feel. All right. Or and then the following day you talk more negative things and you see how you feel. Yeah. So, what are some emotional well being examples? Okay, so strong emotional well being means you are prepared to face events that may or may not be in your control. Yeah, when faced with a challenging situation, you might use one of these strategies to bring yourself into a frame of mind that allows you to manage your emotions. So, first, okay, there's going to be 4 steps, right? So you breathe, you ground yourself, and you pause. So in a stressful situation, okay, you are in the midst of some conflict or some kind of confusion happen and you don't know what to do. Okay, you are caught in between, right? So these simple 3 steps, there's actually 4 steps, but the first 3 steps are, so these steps will actually help you to better control your emotions. First and foremost is breathing. Okay, to be more precisely, it is deep breathing. All right. So, how are we going to do that deep breathing? Okay, when we inhale, the breath has to, you has to feel right to your belly, all right, to your tummy. So when you place your hands on your tummy should bloat out. So that's how you should deep breathe, all right. And then it is good to hold the breath for at least about 4 counts, right? And then you exhale for another 4 counts. So that breathing, in fact, is a very quick and fast way to help to release that feel good hormones like dopamine and serotonin and all. It helps, right? So it calms you down, right? You send a message to your brain. No, when you breathe, the message to your brain, and tells your brain, it's all right, calm yourself down. So that is the work of breathing. So we need to be thankful that we can breathe. Yeah? And secondly is grounding yourself. All right. So what is grounding yourself? So grounding yourself it actually involves the 5 senses. So to be more precise, the parasympathetic sense. Okay? We have these 5 senses. What are the senses? The eye, our sight. What are the things that we're looking at? What are we smelling? What are we tasting? Okay? What are we hearing? And what are we touching? Right? So these 5 senses, it helps us to ground ourselves and bring ourselves to the present, right? So you'll be holding a pen. You can hold a pen. You can feel that pen, okay? So you can feel that pen. It's raw. It's blue, like that. Or you can grab the edge of your desk, feel the floor under your feet. You can put your feet right to the floor. Let it set, and you can feel that on your feet, right? So these are the things that can help you to ground yourself. If you are in your own space, then you can listen to a music, some music that you like. That helps to ground, that triggers your nerves, right? And sends the message to your brains to calm down. When you have a good something that you like, a sweet drink, so one is of my favorite drink is a chocolate drink, a Milo ice. That is my favorite drink. That helps me to calm down. No, so these are the things that you have to discover in your life that helps you to calm down in stressful moments, right? So, and then wait, don't rush. Just pause yourself, have this breathing, have this grounding done, right? And think about, ponder about, what do I really want to say? What is the answer I want to give? So, when you know the words that you will express, what you need to communicate, you are in a state of emotional well being. That when you know, when you breathe and you ground yourself, then you know when you are going to reply, then you know what that with which state of emotional well being you are. So, there is two things, whether you are responding or you are reacting. Okay, what is to respond is to exercise emotional intelligence. To react is to be emotional. Okay, so how do you consistently respond instead of react? Begin by slowing down the process. Yeah, I'm learning this myself, right? So whether I respond or I react, responding means you think through what you want to say. Okay, what is happening or what's the interaction that is happening in the conflict. You measure, you're thoughtful, and allow creative ideas to enter the process. That is to respond. Okay, reacting on the other hand is, I would run away from this, taking a flight. You fight or you flight, you take the flight. So you run, you just ignore, you just tell someone else to do it for you or something like that. Okay, that is the outcome of a negative thought. All right. So for example, suddenly you walking into a room and your colleague or your classmate says, hey, you got to do this project. And you get taken up. Huh? Is it my turn? Is it my turn to do that? And you immediately decline. So I'm not sorry, I'm not ready for this. That is, you are reacting emotionally, right? But yeah, and then and also comes along, you blame yourself or you blame others, all these things happens. On the other hand, you can also calm yourself down, you know accept the shortcomings, accept your weaknesses, right? And take some steps, some creative steps, some small steps in order to achieve what needs to be done. That is to respond. So now you know the difference between responding and reacting. Yeah, so responding, it's you are achieving an emotional intelligence. If you are reacting, then you need to slowly work towards getting to be responding. So what you mean by responding? To add in, to calm yourself down, breathe, and think, oh, what I can do, how creative, what are the things that I've learned in the past that I can apply and make it happen. That's all, right? So these are some four questions that there are here. The it is a latest scientific research finds that the average person has more than 6,000 thoughts every day. We all go through about 6,000 thoughts every day. So the next time a thought challenges your emotional well-being, follow a pattern by self-inquiry. All right, this is a technique, a self-inquiry technique that you can apply it on yourself. Because there are 4 questions. I'm going to read to you one by one. Okay, first question, is it true? You ask yourself, is it true? Okay, so, and maybe one of you can make a note, right? Is it true? Consider whether the thought reflects how you really feel. Okay, for example, if you think my life is a disaster right now, consider whether you truly feel that way. Is it really that it's a disaster? So the first question is it true? Yeah. The second question, is it absolutely true? You are going deeper into your mind. And the question, you think, if after the first question, you thought, yes, my life is truly a disaster. That is going to really drag you down. You're dragging yourself down. Consider why you think that. Yeah. Are there perhaps just some things, some small things, minor things that you can find that what reminds me is that light at the end of the tunnel? Yeah, that gives you that hope. Are there perhaps just a few things you could change, you can tweak around, and can you find some things that might change that situation? Now go to the third question. How do I feel when I think that thought? Consider the emotions and feelings that come along with a negative thought. For example, when you think your life is a disaster, you might feel hopeless, anxious, continuous state of sadness, melancholy. Yeah. So that's how you feel. On the end, for the fourth question, who would I be without that thought? So let me repeat again. The 4 questions that you need to ask is it true? Yeah. Is it absolutely true? How do I feel when I think that thought? When that negative thoughts are going in your mind? What are the things that happens to you? It makes you more go frustrated, you become more angry, furious, all kind of things, right? How would I then you change? How would I be without that thought? Okay. Now just imagine in your life without any negative thoughts. For example, you might be happier, more motivated, and more focused if your thought, your life was wonderful. Consider which thought and feelings you prefer and make a conscious decision to focus on that. Yeah, it's all finally boils down to our own hands. What the choice we want to make. Whether we want to take that route towards the negative thought and indulge ourselves in the negative thoughts, or we're going to turn away and say, no, I'm not going to go that way. That way is not my way. I am going to turn around, do what I can to my maximum, to my effort, and change even a little bit. That's enough. That will take you a long way. All right. To wrap up this practice, okay, there's one final step, turning around the initial thought that challenged your well-being. Come up with 3 reasons why your new thought might be true. Yeah. The practice of questioning and then turning your thoughts around offers you a concrete way to return to a state of emotional well-being. Now, when you turn around, then you will see the difference. Okay. So now we're going to look at how we can improve our emotional well-being. Okay, the range of emotions, how we're going to manage that influences our emotional health. Yeah. So there are simply 8 ways. Okay, I'm going to tell you one by one. All right. So first and foremost is moving our body. Okay, doing some sort of physical activity. All right. So even a short walk around your block, the apartments you are staying, just around there, even a short walk, a short dance. For those who likes to dance, you can just on the music, a short dance. Or those who likes to do house chores, You can fold the laundry. Yeah. So if you have the chance, just go for a walk. Even if it's that short at 5 minutes, it helps you. A jog, a brisk walk. Go to the park, do something for yourself. That helps. That increases that dopamine and serotonin in your brains. Right? And establish a routine. The second one, establish a routine. Create a schedule that balances the work you do with the life you want. Yeah? Set time for your meetings, your deadlines. Do a timeline. Now you're at the beginning of the semester. So you have ample time to plan. What are the subjects you're going to do? How many topics you need to cover? When you do a good planning in the beginning of the year, beginning of the semester, you follow it, then you will see the fruits of it at the end of the semester. Okay, and then block the spaces for your meetings. Create time to have some reading time. Create that time. Create a time for you to prepare a new dish or try a new food or going out with a friend. Listen to a music, something. Have time for that. Okay. These are things that we need to do, right? And third, connect with people. Hmm? Find, if you are not your family, your friends, some people that will support you. Okay. So learn something out of your comfort zone. Do something new. Being in a routine is not so helpful. So from time to time, you need to splash. You need to put in some new things. Even taking a drive back home, using the same route. Maybe another within in a week once, change the route, go another way to the same destination. Okay, spend time with someone you respect. Right, so that helps. Right, the fourth one. Okay, this is for me, this is tough. This is really tough. Okay, but we got to do it. Okay, what is that? Forgiveness. Right, we need to forgive what has happened in the past. We need to radically accept what has happened. There is no way we can go back and change the situations. But how are we going to live today, the present? That is going to be the change, right? So forgiveness, what does it do? It frees us from our bondage. Forgiveness opens the path to live in the moment. Forgiveness allows you to grow in happiness. Yeah. And fifth, this is also something difficult for me, doing something for others, right? Offer to do something for someone you know or don't know, right? So how do we do that? Hmm? Paying a lunch for someone, or we can just grab the groceries for someone, to help your housemate or your roommate with cleaning. No, volunteering in a club or an NGO, that helps, right? Even a simple thank you note for someone who has done something for you, that helps. It makes you feel good, right? And the sixth one, I've mentioned this earlier, having a good sleep, right? So healthy sleep gives your healthy body the chance to repair itself. Okay, when you have a good regular sleep, so this is where it's many distractions happen. All right, so we need to be aware when is the time that we're going to set the limit for us to be on our devices. Okay, so I always tell my clients, before you sleep, set a time, a regular time for you to sleep. And you need to shut down from all the devices that you use, at least for 1 hour. You need to shut yourself. Otherwise, the radiation from the blue light is going to activate your brains. It's going to further push the time of your sleep. And sometimes you even end up not sleeping good. Yeah. So healthy sleep gives your body a chance to repair itself, Sleep refreshes your brain to manage your memories and process information. You wake up feeling good, in a better mood. That is why you need a good sleep, right? And the seventh, be kind to yourself. What gives you joy? Where are you most peace? You feel peaceful. What do you do? How many yeses are you going to tell? Okay? We can't be telling yes to everything. There must be a boundary set. There must be a limitations. Okay? How are you going to manage your interrelationships? That is important, right? Not to the spot where you burn yourself. Yeah, you dry up, not to that point. Okay, so to which point do you want to extend your kindness? That is also plays a role, right? And the final one is to be self-aware. Notice the thoughts, actions, habits, and character traits that serve you well. Yeah, being aware of what is best for you, what works for you. And when you spot what needs to change, then you are ready. You will know it, that this part I need to change. This is not working for me. So I need to work at this. So you will learn from that. You will grow in that. All right. So finally, my final words is going to be, I'm going to share this wise saying by Lao Tzu. All right. What he says is, watch your thoughts. They become words. Watch your words. They become actions. Watch your actions. They become habits. Watch your habits. They become character. Watch your character. It becomes your destiny. You got it? All right. So you become more resilient as you encounter and master any situation. Whenever you have doubts, and you will remember that you have everything you need to take care of your emotional well-being to help you bounce back, right? So welcome to all students for the new semester. So with this sharing, I hope we'll be much more mentally, emotionally resilient to go through the challenges of this new semester. All right. With that, I am going to end this sharing. I will share the Scoran link in the chat group. All right, then. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for your time, for joining tonight. Bye.